Yes, sure.
So, I prefer my gender pronouns are she, her. Now I would like to start my speech in 3, 2, and 1. Feminism. A feminist movement. Let's know about the feminism first. Feminism is all about advocacy of equal rights of the women, and feminist movement can be regarded as the movement that advocates the equal rights for women. So, and reinterpreting this motion means giving a new meaning to anything, or amending or changing the meaning or defining the terms. So, panel, today we are debating whether the feminist movement should attempt to reinterpret the religious traditions, practices, and scriptures in a way that promotes gender equality, or should campaign against them. And we side government strongly believe that the feminist movement should attempt to reinterpret religious traditions, practices, and scriptures in a way that promotes the gender equality. So here, we would like to start with why not to campaign against them. First of all, we believe that it brings the religious disputes and disparities. We believe that somebody can be extremely religious and so down to religion that when they say no, or when they just neglect, or when they just try to remove the religions, or they just can't say no to the or they just can't remove the religion because they are extremely so down to the religion. People prefer to amend or change the religions and cultures rather than to just remove the religions. But why they can't say no? They just can't forget the traditions for a reason, that they are extremely religious and they are so down to religions that they don't want to remove them. Instead, they want to amend them. In the past days, we know that we will have to give example of Nepal only. In the past days, Hindu women were kept in the cow's home, let's say, which is in Nepali, which is known as goat, during their menstruation period, and they were not allowed to even sleep in the comfortable bed sheets. They were not allowed to sleep in the cotton bed seats. But today, they are allowed to enter the home. They are allowed to sleep in the comfortable beds with the comfortable bed seats. This is what we are advocating for. We are advocating for a change in the traditions. We are just advocating for a change and amendment in the traditions that brings the gender equality. In the past days, women were totally prohibited to go to the offices, even to be employed. They were not even allowed to get the jobs. Their prime duty was to handle the household. But today, this stereotype of tradition has been changed, that has been amended for a good change, which has brought a sense of gender equality. Today, women are going to their respective offices, handling their work as a team with the men. Handling their work as a team with the men and handling their household works at the same time. This has brought a sense of empowerment in the women, as they are working women now. They are earning money and handling the whole household in the same time. So here the gender equality is happening. How? Both men and women get to work together, get to work in the same workplace with the common kind of rights. So they are collaborating together and they are working for a good change. So this has brought a sense of societal harmony, which has influenced the society in a very good way. The brotherhood and sisterhood is developing in the society. So when the social harmony is advocated, or when the social harmony is influenced in a good way, it brings a peace in the society. And we all know that when one society is peaceful, when another society is peaceful, when the society combinedly makes a nation, and when the whole nation is peaceful, when the whole nation is living their life in a very cooperative way, then the whole world can be very peaceful. So here we also believe that when the feminist movement try to reinterpret or amend the traditions, then this can bring a positive change in the society. We believe that if we amend the religions and traditions and the sculptures that we have today, we can bring a positive change. How? We already talked about the social harmony, as we said earlier. People will start taking the religions as the best way possible. When the change and amendment of traditions are made, people can be more happier while following their religion. How can they be happier? The question might be, how can they be happier? The victims that were affected, that were deprived of their rights by the various religious practices earlier would be happier. They will get what they want. When they are happy, their quality of life can be increased. So they don't have to face various mental breakdowns, various mental traumas. So hence, if the whole community is happy from the religious changes that we make, then we can build a more happier, peaceful, and a cooperative society. So we also believe that while campaigning against them, or while just talking about the removing of the religious practices that has been followed for a very long time, which has been introduced to us by our forefathers, then the religions can be vanished one day if we just focus on the campaigning, or let's say just ignoring them. It's definitely not the best alternative to say no to religions and to say that we are just removing those religions. Instead, we have to amend them. We have to do something for a very good change. So we also believe that when somebody say no to the religions, it brings the disputes and religious disputes and disparities in the society, because when there will be no peace and harmony in the society, how can the society be developed in the further days? So another argument that we would like to bring up from this side of position is that we believe that we can change the people mindset. People used to have a mindset and the stereotypes that the women are not allowed to play any kind of sports, especially like crickets and footballs and other sports as well. This used to be a practice, this used to be a religious practice in the past days, especially in Hinduism, where women were deprived of the rights that were because of the various religious practices. So feminist movement should advocate for the amendment of the religious practices. In order to change the people's mindset, they must do so. First of all, why? Because the feminist movement's voice can be heard. Secondly, we believe that they can be the representative of those voices that are not comparatively heard in the society. When someone can't raise their voice regarding the things that they are facing because of the religious practices, feminist movement can be one of the best factors. They can be the voice of those people whose rights are being deprived. So in order to change the people's mindset and the stereotypes targeting the majority of the audience, which could make an impact in the very long run, feminist movement must advocate for the amendment of the religious changes. So, because of these visions, we believe that the feminist movement should attempt to reinterpret the religious traditions, practices and sculptures in a way that promotes the gender equality. We talked about the gender equality through the cooperation and the social harmonies, and we should not campaign against them because we believe that it just ruins the peaceful environment of our society and it does not bring any sort of changes, any sort of good changes in the society, as people will be more focusing on the fights and the disputes regarding the religions only and the religious changes only. So we are very proud to propose.
Very fine speech from the leader of opposition.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
So my preferred pronouns are he, him, and I'll take POIs by raising your hand. If you want to take yours, you can just raise your hand. And I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1, start. So let us first talk about what the motion today is. The theme is feminism, and the motion is that this House believes that feminist movements will attempt to reinterpret religious traditions, practices and scriptures in a way that promotes gender equality as opposed to campaigning against them. So what are the key terms of this motion? So key terms are feminist movements, and by feminist movement we mean that those movements in which people advocate for the feminism by promoting female equality and by saying that females should be equal to men, they should get same rights as men, and they should be equal to men, like promoting gender equality in society. So that is one. And religious tradition. So religious tradition can mean any tradition of any religion, for example Hindu religion also, Christian religion also. So that is what this House understands. And gender equality. And by gender equality, it is clear that it means that male and female should be equal. And so what are the stakeholders of this motion? The stakeholders of this motion are females, like those females that are being oppressed, or those females. Generally all the females of the society are the stakeholders. Another stakeholders are people who are involved in the feminist movement. They can be females also, they can be males also, but they can be other people who just want that female have the same rights as men. And so other stakeholder is the religious tradition. So like if we are trying to reinterpret those religious traditions, then the religious scriptures and other things will be changed also. So they are one of the stakeholders. And like the main thing, the characteristics of the stakeholders are the females of the society. So when we first start talking about this motion, then we should understand how the traditional religious values, practices and scriptures have affected females. So for example, if we talk about what traditional role says, then it says that the females should be stay in the house, they should be confined within the four walls of the house, and they should just do housework, they shouldn't go outside, or blah blah blah, and that is what the traditional religious values says, and that is what this feminist movement is trying to oppose, and that is what we have opposed since day one of the feminist movement. And the other characteristic is that the religious traditions and values, they state factually in the scriptures that, like it is stated that females should have the role to stay in house, they should have the role that they should just feed their babies, they should make babies and they should stay in the house and they shouldn't do anything. So the feminist movement is trying to oppose that. And another thing is what the feminist movement wants, and currently what the feminist movement is doing is that they are trying to oppose what the religious stand for, they are trying to oppose what the religion traditions are doing to the females. Like if in Hindu religion we can see that when the menstrual cycle occurs, the women are not allowed to go into kitchens and they are not allowed to go into the puja rooms where we pray to God, etc. And generally in some houses also they are not allowed to sleep on their own bed also, they have a different bed, and that is very bad for society and very bad for the females. So what are the main arguments? So like reinterpretation of religious tradition and values, like I feel like it goes against the core values of what feminism stands for. So what is feminism all about? It is about equality between male and female. It is about raising the position of females in the society such that they are equal to men. And so it is about change, and it is about evolving, it is about development, it is about exposure, it is about exposing female to what they should do, what they can do, and what they are capable of. So feminism is all about the betterment of women, for the women and for the human society. And while talking about the core values of feminism, it is about what the females are benefited the most. So if we just look at the reinterpretation of religion tradition, then I feel like why should we try and waste our resources to reinterpret them? Like if, for example, in a society, like they try to coexist with religions, right? They try to coexist with the religious people who have deeply rooted traditional values. And so like if they try to do that, then there may be some situation where they can soften their stance also. Like the religion, like the people who are involved in such religions, they may say that like they have such deeply rooted subconscious in their mind that females should be under this, females should be under that. And if we like mix feminism with that, then the outcome can be such that the females have to take a softer stance when dealing with them, and that softer stance can lead them to agree with religious communities also. Like they have to coexist with them, right? So if they have to coexist with them, then that can again lead to softening their stance and going against the core values of what feminism stands for. And talking about the current society, like it is inherently balanced towards men. Like those religious traditions, practices, and scriptures, they favor men more. And it's like saying that for example, like when the marriage occurs between a male and a female, traditionally what we see, the female adopts the surname of the male and such. Like that sort of religious traditions have been prevalent in our society, and this sort of mindset has been deeply rooted in both males and females. So like trying to change this sort of thing, it is like very impossible task, it is a very tiring task, and it is a very excruciating task. And this sort of task cannot be undertaken by the feminist movement currently, because it can like just, why should we waste our resources trying to reinterpret them when we can just oppose them? Like if we try to reinterpret them, if we try to like this scripture says this scripture says that, and if we just try to change it, then I don't know why it benefits the feminist movement. Because like the feminist movement is better without it. They can just oppose it, and they can give their resources to other important things. They can give their resources to promote the oppressed women who have been dealing with many things like abuse in society also. And another argument is that I have already mentioned it, deeply rooted traditional practices. So like when we look at the society, we can see that the people who are involved in religious practices, they don't want to change. Like they are not dynamic. Like they are very stubborn, and in their mind they think that their religion is the most, their religion is the good, and their religion is the best, and that, and they have blind belief and faith in their religion. And this sort of blind belief and faith in their religion causes them to negate the idea of feminism. Like the idea of feminism coexisting with them, and reinterpretation of those sort of things, like it causes them to deviate from their blind belief. And I think that this house thinks that they won't deviate simply. Like the one point that the PM brought out was that like it promotes social harmony, it promotes peace, it promotes this, it promotes that. And I like to tell you that we are not living in a utopian society where everything is perfect. We are not living in a utopian society such that if we just tell those stubborn people, those people who have blind belief in faith and all, if we just tell them to reinterpret their religions, then they simply won't agree with us. Like the Prime Minister said that the whole community will accept it, it will be happier, social harmony and this and that. But I feel like
what are the chances that they will accept it? Like they cannot also accept it. Like if the whole community, there may be some division also. Like the idea of social harmony was brought up, but like they may feel that we are invading their privacy also. Like there is invasion of their religious values and beliefs, and that can create even more division in the society. For example, the feminist values, they are trying to coexist with the religions, right? They are trying to interpret them. They are trying to tell the people that we should do this, we should do that. And talking about example, like I'll just give the example that I mentioned before. Like in the menstruation cycle, like people, they don't want to teach children to go into the kitchens and that. And so like if we just tell them that they shouldn't go into the kitchen, and we should just tell them that they should be allowed in the kitchen, they should be allowed in the puja room, then they simply won't accept. Like, what is the logic behind that? They simply won't accept it, and it doesn't promote social harmony. It instead creates division in the society. So there may be some people who agree with what they say. There may be some people who doesn't agree with what they say. So the religious community that was united before, the society that was united before, it can also break apart due to this sort of thing. So I feel like peace and harmony, they are very sensitive words, and they shouldn't be brought up when we are talking about interpretation of religion, because like it doesn't make sense and all. And another thing is that waste of resources, which I have already mentioned, it will be explained better by the DPM, Deputy Leader of Opposition, that will come after me. And another thing is that very vanishing of religion that was brought up by the proposition side, and I feel like it is not harmful to let those religions vanish who are oppressing the women in our society. Like it is not harmful for if those religions vanish, we can just create new things. Like it is all about change, it is all about evolving. So I feel like our house wins this debate, and proud to oppose. Thank you all.
Last speaker today, I speak calling on DPM Yo-Yo.
So my pronouns are she, her, and I prefer POIs by raising hand. So my speech starts in 3, 2, and 1. Panel. Reality of the world is different from what the opposition side wants to claim. They wanted to claim that traditional value says that our religious practices keeps women behind the four walls. It keeps us behind the bars of the house. But how? It was past. Now, have you seen females still behind the house? They have been promoted. To be outside. They have got independence, and they have been engaged in other activities outside activities from feminist movements as well. And interpretation of practices, it has changed it has changed now. So what's the use of saying this now? They have also stated like menstruation and other practices should be is wrong, and it should be campaigned against instead of interpretation. They can also be changed. They can be also be changed, which would be beneficial for us. They had also claimed that our religions have stopped women from doing households, etc. when they are facing menstruation and period problems. But our religion also worships and provides those women with gifts and other presents, and worships them when they are having their first and second menstruation. They are worshipping them like gods. They are worshipping them like goddesses. So of course, our religions are not should not be campaigned just because seeing the cons of consequences, because they also do have pros. So our religions does respect the women. Does respect the women even when they are having menstruation. So we are completely against what the opposition side wanted to claim. The opposition also claimed that people won't be able to accept interpretation like our Prime Minister had stated before. But those people have also faced such problems from religions. So of course they would also try to interpret it. They would also agree with us to interpret it, because they have been also gone through such problems. So they should start starting a campaign. They should not start a campaign because it also causes wars. Like they stated, if we do interpretation, they won't agree with us. But if we start campaigning, where is the guarantee that they are going to agree with us now as well? There's no guarantee. They might want to stop you, and of course it is not going to create any peace, and it would just lead to a war. So the opposition side does not make any sense at all, even in this argument. Now, here are a few arguments we present from our side. People are mentally and socially really attached to their religions. So instead of campaigning against them, instead they should be interpreted. Our religions shape our lives in multiple ways. Every beliefs, every practices which we follow are shaped from our religions. Whatever we do because of our religions. We have been practicing our religions from our childhood, so we are really connected to it. So campaigning against them would be very unacceptable for us because we are very much engaged and very much used to it. Yes, they include some cons as well, as everything does have pros and cons. So feminist movements should interpret instead of just completely campaigning against them. Suppose I'm a woman following Hinduism. According to my religion, if I suffer from menstruation, I should not worship God. And I have been believing it since my childhood because it's my religion, and of course it is a practice, but it does not mean we should completely stop worshipping God just because we have menstruation. So it absolutely does not make any sense at all, because instead of campaigning against it, then we can interpret it and do what is beneficial for us. Instead, these feminist movements should try to reinterpret it, which means educating women and people not getting rid of, which means educating women and people not getting rid of our practices. These feminist movements should try to make it more beneficial for us instead of completely destroying our practices. Because yes, every morality we believe we follow is because of our religions, and yes, it does have a positive impact. It is fair to those women, and yes, women are not going to face any sadness because of these practices when they are interpreted. Now that brings us to our second point. Our religions have been passed to us from our past generations from centuries, so they should not be campaigned against and changed. Our religions, traditions, values have been passed from centuries. So yes, they do have some wrong points as well. So if we keep trying to point them out a lot, find wrong in them, and start a campaign to change them, then our festival, our practices might even go in the verge of extinction. So is it really the goal of feminist movements to make our religions disappear? Absolutely not right. So instead, they should be interpreted instead of campaigned against. So suppose I'm a male and I've been put tika by some elders. So according to our religion, we need to give them money in return, and suppose some people are against it. They don't like this culture, but are we just supposed to entirely start a campaign against these cultures just because we don't agree, just because we don't like it? Absolutely not right. Because it is a way of showing respect to elders. Just because we don't like it doesn't mean we have to start a campaign against it. So in order to make our culture not go extinct, then we have to interpret wrong practices instead of changing them completely. And yeah, if we interpret wrong practices, it keeps our culture alive and is beneficial for us all. But as the opposition wants, if our culture are completely campaigned against, then really our religion would be in verge of extinction. Hence, for such instances, we are proud to propose.
Am I audible? Excuse me? Yes, you're audible. Go ahead. Okay. So my speech starts in 3, 2, and 1. Women not being binded by any traditions and practices and living life on their own terms is what we define feminism as. And when we redefine what has been going on for hundreds of years, which has made the lives of women full of hardships and excruciating pain, it just does not do justice to the core values of feminism. And women have been oppressed since time immemorial due to the certain religious traditions, practices, and scriptures. And now, if we are to reinterpret it again and again, instead of opposing it completely, which actually goes along the core values of feminism, it provides no help and justice to the females involved. Before that, what I would like to touch on is when the DPM of the House said putting tika to the elders, giving money is actually out of context. So I don't understand why they brought this topic over here. Now, rebutting. The first thing that they said was that they stated that not attempting to reinterpret brings religious disparities as they cannot say no. But isn't feminism all about women being able to gain equal rights and living life in their own terms? If they do not want to follow their religion, if they do not want to do certain things, it is their right. And then no one can go against it, no one can go and tell them you have to do this, you cannot say no to this just because we have been doing this since time immemorial. Feminism is all about women gaining equal opportunities. So when we say that we cannot say no to the women, it's actually oppressing their rights as a woman. They are not being able to fully exercise their rights as a woman, as a citizen of a democratic nation. But what the other thing was also said is that, like, women being allowed to sleep in comfortable beds, and then them being able to worship gods, and them also being able to go to the puja kothas now, is actually what has been happening due to us opposing the reinterpretation of the religious traditions. When we oppose it, we actually got this due to not actually reinterpreting it, but rather completely opposing it. So, them giving the example of menstrual cycles is out of the parameter. The parameter stated that we opposing that things such as the menstrual cycles is what brought the freedom to women. So, that is all we have about this topic. When it was said that women were prohibited to do corporate jobs before, but they can do it now, yet are we still forgetting the fact that they're still struggling with familial pressure due to their old mindsets? When we reinterpret those kind of traditional values, they are still being oppressed by the familial pressure which is happening due to the old mindsets. And if we are to reinterpret it here and there and again, will that one change the mindset of the people over the time? Yes, we believe that human mind is an evolving mind. The mindset of people can change, but do you really believe that in this short period of time they can change the mind and that women will actually be able to do so much for themselves? No. In the context of so many countries like our Nepal and other countries around the world such as Pakistan, India, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and so many places where women are still being oppressed, even if the changes were done, the reforms were made, it has still not been good. It has not been good to the women who are the ones who are actually, who it is supposed to be allocated to. So, what we also say is that mindset of people can change was said, but then it just does not do justice to the core values of feminist movement. Yes, by reinterpreting it, you can say that it brings justice, you can do much more better, women are getting much more freedom, but women gain freedom when we completely oppose the reinterpretation of these traditional religious values and scriptures and practices by giving them the rights and the opportunities to choose what they do for themselves. When we say that women should do this thing, should do that, by reinterpreting the whole thing, it still does not bring justice to them. Because women are still being told what to do, and that is not what feminism is all about. Feminism is about women, I again repeat this, feminism is all about women getting equal rights as equal to those of men and living life on their own terms without any kind of judicial pressure or any kind of familiar pressure from other people. So, reinterpreting all this kind of religious traditions, scriptures, and the practices won't bring anything good to the women. And now, right now, I as a woman, if some traditions, for example, the Gufa Pratha, or we say the cave Pratha, is that women have to live in the kind of caves or the goat shepherds places when they are in the periods, right? And the opposing house said that now they are being able to sit in their own house and they are being able to live comfortably and so many things. But still, even after reinterpreting it again and again, women still cannot go to the worshipping rooms. Most of the women in so many countries are not able to just go to that one certain room of their home because the old people still believe that, oh, it's not what it is supposed to be. Yes, they made some reinterpretation, but it has not completely helped the women gain their right and freedom over it. So how does this help the women in the context of so much of long time? It does not help. We have seen it till now, that even reinterpreting it till now has not brought any kind of big major success to the women. So we do not certainly understand why this topic was brought by the proposition house. So, as for my main arguments, what I would like to say is division and clash will be there in the community if we are to reinterpret it, because some people might believe that, oh, it is okay to do so, but some will not agree with it. So what will happen? There will be some clash and division, and it can just hamper the peace and harmony of the country, which will also automatically result to the waste of resources and hassle. Because if we are to go and then just waste our resources in this kind of reinterpretation again and again, we can actually gain so much of development if we are to spend this amount of resources and dive into other contexts while completely overseeing this whole thing, so that the people who are over there, the women, the community that is involved, can gain freedoms and equal rights. Again, if we are to talk about weighing down the options, if we are to talk about the waste of resources and hassles that are done, and division and clash that will happen in the community, when women completely get the right to choose what they want to do, and when we completely oppose the reinterpretation of those kinds of traditional religious values and so much more, women have their complete power over themselves, and this is what feminism is all about. So we certainly believe that doing this will help the women gain so much of freedom, so much of pride, so much of confidence in themselves, that they will be able to do and achieve so much more in life. And just doing a corporate job is not enough for them. They are able to do so much more by doing so. So if we are to completely oppose all these kinds of reinterpretation, it will help women gain and soar up to new heights, and that is how I believe that our houses want this debate. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, I'll be acting as the government whip. My pronouns are Shiva. My time starts in 3, 2, and 1. Panel. Today we're debating whether or not feminist movements should attempt to reinterpret religious traditions, practices, and scriptures in a way that promotes gender equality as opposed to campaigning against them. As a proposition, we firmly believe that feminist movements should in fact attempt to reinterpret religious traditions, practices, and scriptures in a way that promotes gender equality as opposed to campaigning against them. Firstly, the opposition team stated how the tradition of menstruation was extremely bad. Then they go around and say that it was completely irrelevant for us to bring menstruation in this topic when they were the one that raised it up. In a similar manner, they also said that it does not help in long-term development. But they completely forgotten the fact that during Hinduism, when women get their first period, they are celebrated after 15 days of getting the period. Sure, it's not right to not let them enter the temples. It's not right to not let them enter places, but it is right to ensure that they feel heard, that they feel that it's okay, that they feel, oh, hey, you know what? Menstruation is a process that every woman occurs to. It is a natural process. In this way, I myself as a woman, I felt very empowered when I was celebrated, when I was empowered after 15 days of getting my first period, because in that time I realized that, you know what, maybe it is a natural process, maybe it is okay for me to get these periods, and maybe it is not that bad. They have also stated how females adopting the male surname was extremely bad, but keep in mind that this has been changed, this has been interpreted. And nowadays, females can do whatever they want. They are allowed to keep their names, they are allowed to keep their husband's name, or they are allowed to keep their husband's and their own names as well. They are allowed to do whatever they want because it was interpreted. And keep in mind that some women do want to adopt male surname, are really ignoring the voices of these women. And they've also stated how it is very tiring to change these religions. It's very tiring to remove them, and women should just not use their resources on these kind of things. But they've never explained what resources are they supposed to not waste supposedly, what resources should they use more on, and what topics should they focus more on. And keep in mind that it is very tiring to remove them as well. You see, they've stated how we're not living in a utopian reality, and people won't accept reinterpretation of religion and feel as if it's an invasion of religious values, when in reality people would feel the same way if these religious practices are removed. If these religious practices are completely removed, then how can they not feel as if it's an invasion of religious values if they are removed? But when they are interpreted, they will feel as if you know what, hey, maybe it is a good right, maybe we are working towards the betterment, and they won't feel extremely unheard, they won't feel as if their religion values are extremely invasion, or it's it has a great effect on their privacy, because these religious practices are still here, these religious practices still occur, and they are not completely removed. They have also stated how it's not harmful to let it vanish and we can create new practices. So are you really saying that religion is a waste of time? And but they are our pride, they are our culture, they are what makes our society vibrant. Religion is what makes our society vibrant and unique among many, many other people, and it is what makes women unique as well. And people have strong connection and bonding with religions, including women. I myself love my religion. I love my religion a lot, and I really appreciate my religion. Although I may not agree with everything that it says, I may not agree with some of its practices, I still love my religion, and I do not want these practices to be completely campaigned against or to completely be removed. So if you just tell them to remove it, how will these individuals be okay like myself? Also, creating new practices is not that easy. They really think that these kind of practices can just appear out of thin air. No, these religious practices, these scriptures, these books, these holy books have been in our livelihood since centuries. It's been centuries, and it has been a lot since they have been here, and we are still learning so much about them. So how can they say that we can just create new patterns, we can just create new practices as if it's that easy? They have also stated how when we reinterpret these religions, they are still oppressed. Women are still oppressed, but they never express how they are not oppressed in their side of the house. They've never explained how women are not oppressed or depressed in their side of the house, because guess what? Women can also like these religions. Women can also love their religion, and by removing it, love these kind of religious practices. For example, let's just take the analogy that I made before, which was of menstruation. Some women, some children might love that they are getting celebrated after 15 days. But if we completely remove that, according to their side of the house, we are removing that kind of practice as well. So they can still be oppressed in their side of the house as well. Hence, we are proud to propose and stand firm in our assertion that feminist movements should attempt to reinterpret religious practices and scriptures in a way that promotes gender equality as opposed to campaigning against them. Our stance was not only valid but also vital. Because we were able to demonstrate that the air arguments were invalid and insignificant, we are certain that we will be winning this debate. Thank you.
And the last speaker for the very fine speech, calling on Young. Sure, Young.
My pronouns are she, her, and my speech will start in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, let's talk about feminism, how the both houses interpreted the arguments. Feminism is all about giving equal rights, equal opportunities to both the males and females, both the genders. And they talk about how reinterpreting some traditional values, traditional ideology, that kind of equality will be reached. And they do not further explain why that is so. They talk about religious disparity. If we are to completely oppose a traditional value, scriptures, anything, then there will be religious disparity. But what makes you believe that they will withstand the changes or amendment that you're making? Our side of the house is creating a certain boundary between religion and the actual requirement for feminist movement to thrive and for women to get equal opportunities as males. Also, they talk about how women are allowed to do things. Like they're allowed to go outside, they're allowed to join corporates, they are allowed to do stuff. But if you have rights, if you are really enjoying the feminist rights, then how can anyone be allowed? That is your right. You can never be allowed. They're just saying that making reinterpretation, they will automatically bring in an utopian society where every woman will be fine, every woman will get equal opportunities, but that may not be so. We're saying that we're creating a certain boundary. We're saying that there might be a religious disparity that you will create. Amending someone's religion, saying that we should change it. You know, there will be creation of different groups that will further divide the society, and they fail to acknowledge this argument from us. And also, they state how happiness will be achieved, how there will be prosperity, that there will be peace. They vaguely termed it, and they undermine the possibility of religious disparity that might be created if we are to reinterpret all the values that has been passed down from centuries, that was not changed, that was so boldly stated in the scriptures that they're very confident that they're gonna reinterpret it. But we're saying, in our side of house, we are saying that we are creating boundaries. We're saying that is wrong. We are saying that we are directly opposing what creates disparity, what creates differences between men and women, and that must be pointed out too. They talk about putting tika, they talk about all of the stuff that is. They also talk about how we are going to oppose the religion as a whole, but we're just saying that we're opposing the religious values, traditional, that oppose feminism, that affect the rights of the women to grow, to be nurtured, to actually be something, not only be a female in a society, but as a human being she can flourish. They don't address the problem that may create religious disparity, and they also talk about menstruation, how they have grown out of it. Now they are allowed to do stuff, and they don't understand that is actually opposing of the traditional values we have. Whatever example they gave, they're not even sure about the meaning between reinterpretation and opposing some religion. They are outright giving example of what we are supporting. And they also talk about how mindset will be changed. Just like that if you were to reinterpret the religious belief that you have, all the people will have clean minds. They will think about how women are going to develop, flourish, but they do not. They also vaguely put forward this argument. They do not further elaborate it. They also talk about peace, how it will be achieved if you were to create or make reinterpretation of the religion, and we say that is not the case. And they talk about how independence of women is actually example, but we say that it is the example of opposing of the traditional views and ideologies. We talk about how women being inside the house and now they are able to go outside work is actually example of us opposing the traditional values and norms. They talk about how it is great to be worshipped after 15 days of menstruation, but what after that? What after that? They are just saying, oh wow, you are impure, you will not be able to enter the temples. What about that? Are we just gonna be fixated on menstruation? Are we just gonna be fixated that, oh my god, they are given importance, they said that menstruation is important, but they only talk about, they forget the fact that Kumaris are not worshipped after getting their periods. How is that relevant? And another thing is, we are not trying to create a new traditional practice. We never said we're gonna put forward a new practice. We never said that. We are saying that we will oppose every religious values, tradition, scripture that talks about letting the women be inside the house, not letting women to be her own person. And let's just see what their house brings and what our house brings. Their house simply states that by reinterpreting all the values, all the tradition, automatically women will have everything. That the women will be given enough value in the society and how they will be able to flourish. But there's a very fine line between interpreting and completely opposing it. How are you going to create a parameter about that? How are you going to say that this is reinterpreting and this is completely opposing? You are not clear about the fact. You do not give us enough arguments on that. Also, their house also has a risk that there might be patriarchal ideology mixed with feminism. They don't talk about how they're going to get away from that. But our side of the house is completely outright making a boundary between what is religious belief and what is actually required for women's betterment. We're saying that we're gonna completely abolish, we're completely gonna remove all the ideologies that are being brainwashed into women thinking that, oh, it's okay, it's our tradition, we must follow it. We're saying that that is not right. That is not right for you to go on with all the things you're going with. We're saying that the ideologies that a religion can bring might hinder your growth. And our side of the house will, if in our side of the house, we are opposing all kinds of religion that is against feminism, while the other side of the house says that there might be peace. They only talk about utopian society without giving proper examples. Why is that and how is that? But our side of the house understands that there might be disparity among the religion, and they also don't talk about the parameters. Therefore, comparing the advantages that the proposition house brings and what our house brings, weighing down the options, our option seems the best for the betterment of the women. Therefore, we are proud to oppose. Thank you.
I'm here for the reply speech of opposition, and I'm going to start my reply speech in 3, 2, 1, let's go. So let's weigh down the arguments of both sides, right? So what we put on the table is that the idea of reinterpretation of religious traditions and values, it goes against the core values of feminism. How? Like it can soften the approach that feminism has. It can compel feminist movement to agree with religious core community on certain things, and it can create more disputes about it. And we also address that there are inherently there is a patriarchal ideology that is hidden within those religious scriptures, and that may create some division between what the feminist movement is about and what's it gonna be if we reinterpret them. So like that is what our one argument was. And another argument that was put forward by the proposition house was that if we just oppose them, then it will create religious dispute and disparity. But they failed to address that, like reinterpretation of those religions also creates religious dispute and disparity. How? Like people may feel that their religious values are being there is invasion on them, and they may feel offended by it. So there may be some division between the people of the same community also. So there is still religious dispute and disparity. But what our house puts on the table is that we completely oppose them. So if you oppose them, then they are two sides of the same coin. The one who accepts, the one who opposes. So it's like simple, right? But on their side of the house, then there are many, like in the same community also, the people they may be some people who are in the favor of reinterpreting them. There may be some people who just want to leave them as they be. There may be some people who want to completely oppose them. So like it creates more disparity. So I don't get why the religious dispute and disparity is a strong argument on their point. And another thing was that reinterpretation creates social harmony and gender equality, but they fail to address how it creates social harmony. They just say that people will accept it and it creates social harmony, but how? Like people won't just accept it. We have to work hard for it, and for working towards it, like we need some resources also. Like the feminist movement is not that big that we can expand our resources also. Like it has some goals also. It
it has to help oppressed women also. And so I don't get why in this sort of sensitive scenario we have to divide our resources and give some expansive resources to the fact that we have to reinterpret the scriptures and all. And another point that was put forward by the movement was that vanishing of religion, and that the religion that was put forward, the religion that was developed by our forefathers, they will be disrespected and so on. Like, are we just going to ignore that those religions have been disrespecting the females, those religions have been oppressing the females since time immemorial, and those religions have been, like, they have been dominating females. Like, we just have to address that fact. And by addressing that fact, we can say that if those religions that harm female, if they are gone, then there is not a bad thing. Like, those religions who support women, they're still there. Like, we are losing our cultural values, we are just eradicating the change of society. And human society is all about change. We have developed from the era of caveman to the era of pinnacle of the earth, and we have even explored space, and that is due to change. And that is due to changing our ideologies, that is due to development, that is due to evolution. And in that path of evolution, it comes to the change that feminist women can oppose religion. Like, reinterpreting them, like, it just feels like we go back to the past and repeat what they say and repeat what they, like, we just oppose them. If the religion they don't support female, we oppose them. We do good, we do better, but we do better for the females. And another argument that was not addressed by the opposition house was that how are they going to, like, define the parameters of what reinterpreting them means. Like, they don't give any example on how they are going to reinterpret, and so, like, not giving any examples makes their arguments vague and doesn't make it strongly relevant to the topic. We are strongly opposing to religions. We are clear on our argument, but they are not clear, like, how they are going to reinterpret. So, like, if there is a religion that says that women have to go wearing some shawl or anything, like, they can't show their faces to other people, like, how are they going to reinterpret that? There is no clear example. So I feel like comparing the pros and cons of both sides, our house has clearly won the debate. So proud to propose. Thank you.
So I'm here for the written speech from the government side. I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, and 1. So, panel, today we are debating on, let me repeat, today we are debating on whether the feminist movement should attempt to reinterpret the religious traditions, practices and scriptures in a way that promotes the gender equality, or we should just campaign against them. And which side proposition still believe that we should try to reinterpret those religious practices and promote the gender equality. So starting off with how their side of the world look like. In their side of the world, religions are completely removed. They oppose the religious traditions that have been there for a long time, which was introduced by us by our forefathers. They disrespect the religion. And what our side of the house looks like is that religions are respected. Amendment is done in order to bring a positive change in the people's mindset as well as in the society. And when women and men are put in the same pace, as they are allowed to work collaboratively and in a very better way. So starting off with why their side of the house should not win this debate. First of all, they talked about the use of the resources to interpret the religious traditions. So they didn't explain about what sort of resources. That could be human resources, that could be economic resources, or the social resources. There are various kinds of resources. They were not clear about what sort of resources are used to interpret the religious traditions. So that was a totally invalid point, because we believe that resources are supposed to be utilized by the society for the betterment of the society and to bring a positive change in the society. Secondly, they also talked about the belief that the interpretations can be done and it's impossible, which was very untrue, because our question is that why is not possible? It's possible and everyone accepts it. We can take the example from the past. Today women are working women and even the entrepreneurs. It's the change only, the change of the religious practices. So they also talked about the justice system, and they also talked about the justice system and there will be no justice. How can it bring the justice, and to whom it brings the justice? They were pretty unclear about that fact. And while opposing religious and religious practices are giving the justice to whom? They might be giving the justice to the women, but what about the giving justice to the religious practices that are brought up by us, by our forefathers? They also talked about the change of the mindset of people is not possible, but they didn't explain how and why is it not possible, because our stance was that feminist movement have a strong sense of voice and it definitely can be used to change the people's mindset in a majority way and in the long run. So they also talked about the division of people, which was totally irrelevant, and we believe that that is in our side of the house. If we are talking about the division among the people regarding their interpretation, then they are totally ignoring the fact that while opposing or removing the religion, the division of people affect the society in the larger scope. While opposing, not only division but also disputes are happening in the society, in the same community. Disputes are happening because of the removing and the opposing of the religions only. And we believe that they didn't understand the motion clearly because they were totally entirely focusing on the feminism and the superiority of female. But today we are debating on whether we should interpret the religions in such a way that promote the gender equality or just oppose them, and they totally ignored about the fact that it also brings the gender equality. So moving on to why we should win this debate. First of all, we talked about we believe that the reinterpretation can bring a strong sense of harmony and peace in the society. It can bring a positive change not only in the society but also in the people's mindset. We also talked about the thing that while opposing them, the religions can be vanished if we just oppose it. In order to save the religion and make the world a better place and a positive place, we must reinterpret the religions that rather than just opposing them. So we also believe that while reinterpreting, we are keeping our religious practices and the religions alive. We also talked about how collaboration and social harmonies are happening between males and females. We also talked about that quality of life of extremely religious-minded people and the victims can be achieved through the reinterpretation of the religions and the religious practices, which also enhances the brotherhood and sisterhood when both the genders are supposed to work together. So what we believe is that our arguments were valid, vital, so we are sure that we are taking the winning title home. Thank you.